So, the fall of the American Empire. This one's kind of represents an interesting change for Argent because this actually felt like a movie. It didn't just feel like some like art project that he pieced together in his basement. This actually felt like it had a budget. There was actually editing in it. The script was coherent. Like the film flowed properly. Like I was kind of shutting out for the last 2 decades. Um, so I was very impressed by this film. I'm going to say I like it. I'd probably actually even just off the top of my head recommend it. Um, if for no other reason than, how do you pronounce her name? Marpierre Morin. The girl in it is really, really beautiful. There's a lot of attractive French Canadian women. It's one of Quebec's main exports to the rest of Canada. But I digress. So no, this was actually really good. I guess the question is the fall of the American Empire like related to this at all? Eh, a little bit, I guess. I mean, as with all the movies, it takes place in Quebec. But that being said, let's just maybe get into the film. So we have our main character, Pierre, who's like the most archetypical Quebecois I've ever seen. He has a PhD in philosophy, but he works as a delivery guy because he quote unquote makes more money as a delivery guy than he would as a teacher. And the film starts off with an extremely like pretentious and obnoxious speech of him basically lecturing his soon to be ex GF about how that feel when too intelligent. Like he literally says, I'm too smart to make money. I'm too smart to be successful. You have to be stupid to make money. You have to be stupid to have luck communicating with other people. I'm just too smart. And that's the reason why I'm in the situation that I'm in. He just kind of rambles on about the curse of the high IQ. So he's just read a lot of books. Like his whole apartment's full of books and he just constantly quotes from them. So after he gives this big speech, she breaks up with him, basically saying that he's an asshole. And then he goes back to work. So then we cut to a local store, and we see a first for a Denise Arcand movie. You have like an action scene where two black guys come in, and actually, I think it's being manned by Syrians. So they like tie the Syrians up, and they empty out a massive safe full of money, whereas some like based Wignat shows up and shoots one of them. So there's like a shootout, and one of the black guys gets killed. The other one manages to stumble away with the bags of money. And as he gets away, he shoots and kills the based Wignat guy. So as this is happening, our hero Pierre pulls up in his delivery van, and he sees the black guy stumble off without the money. So he goes and personally grabs the money bags, loads them into his truck, and drives away. So he goes to his house and he hides the money. He's really stupid because he takes like I don't know, like 10 or 12 grand or something, and just puts it in a random drawer out in the middle of nowhere. That would be really easy for someone to like stumble into, but he's like I said, really dumb. So he does that, and he puts the rest of the money in a locker. So then he finds out that there's a guy. I think his name's like Brian, Sylvian the Brain. I'll just call him the Brain, who is a expert money launderer. Is just getting out of jail, so he goes and meets with him, and he manages to get him on board with his scheme. So he's like, I have the money, I need to keep the money, I can't just spend the money. We have to come up with a way to deal with it. So then, meanwhile, he hires Camille. I think her alias is Aspesi. I'm just gonna go with Camille because I can't pronounce her nickname. But yeah, she's played by an exceedingly beautiful actress. So he's like an incel because women don't want to have sex with him. Not even like he's not even a bad looking guy or anything. He's just such an asshole. And he just like talks about how smart he is and like how poorly educated they are compared to him. So he hires her because she's the most expensive escort in Montreal, but she's also very educated. She has like quotes from famous people, and he like flirts from like philosophers, and he like flirts with her by sending various relevant quotes to her and back. So she comes over, and he pays her, I don't know, like $1,000 or something, and they have sex. And as they like are in the middle of it, the police show up, and the police obviously know who she is because she's the most like high class prostitute in Montreal. So they're like, yeah, we're pretty sure this dude took the money. Otherwise, like it would be 2 months of his salary minimum to get this girl to sleep with him. So he comes up with a lie that she's his friend, that they're friends, and he's not paying her for sex. They're like BFFs. And so he starts paying her more and more to just kind of hang around him and pretend that they're friends. And at some point in time, they do apparently seem to fall in love, and she stops really worrying that much about taking money from him for their various trysts, and they do wind up together at the end of the movie. And that's always kind of an interesting question, I think. Um, if you met like your dream girl, like she's beautiful, intelligent, um, and she used to be a prostitute or a porn star or something, and she's completely like reformed and looks back on that part of her life as a like a bad thing, would you give her a chance? It's an interesting question. Obviously, this guy does, but like it's really awkward watching them together. He's just an ass. He's just such a like a. It's not even that he's a pussy. It's that he's a pussy, but he's also really arrogant and really like self-absorbed. So he's very unlikable. So he brings her in on his scheme, and he also brings in the guy who just got out of jail in on his scheme. And the guy who just got out of jail has a couple $1 million of his own stashed. So they come up with a plan, and this is kind of where we get into the actual fall of the American Empire. When the money launderer guy was in university, he completed a degree in commerce. And he took a bunch of courses about international money laundering. So he comes up with the plan that what they're going to do is they're going to trade the money to people who have funds in overseas accounts for the money in those overseas accounts. So like there's one couple that had like $3,500,000 in the Cayman Islands. So he trades them $3,500,000 in cash in exchange for the money in that account overseas. The money, it turns out, comes from like a guy who was a banker for the major mafia families in Montreal. And that plot line doesn't really go anywhere. He eventually just gets shot, as the other gangs think he was the one who stole the money. And throughout this whole movie, you have the police chasing after them, and the police officers are pretty funny. I mean, the whole film actually flows pretty well. The romantic plot between him and the former prostitute, I think, flows pretty good. The side characters are not bad. The police officer and his deputy, I like both of them. The guy who shows up, who's basically like Robert De Niro's character from Limitless, who's like this international financial magnate who helps them launder the money. He's pretty likable. It's overall just kind of like a good heist movie. It's a very like kind of strange one. It's a very, I guess you could say, postmodern one, because it's about them trying to like get the money to like offshore bank accounts and like launder it properly and escape the law that way, rather than them like trying to get the money out, like trying to break into a bank vault or something like that, because that's just not really the way that money is anymore. So I guess like the fall of the American Empire, part of this you can see is just the manipulation of the international monetary system. This was made into a certain extent as like a reflection on the post financial crisis. And it's just kind of showing, I guess, just how rich and privileged a lot of people are, and I guess kind of just how little accountability or rule of law there is for those people. Is once again, it's also showing very much the emptiness in Quebec that kind of followed the end of the Quiet Revolution and the aftermath and separatism. And it kind of, the main character kind of is like the legacy of that, and he really just doesn't know what to do or where to go in his life. So yeah, they eventually. What else is interesting is there's a happy ending. They succeed in getting the money offshore, and the main character has been very heavily involved with charity work for the homeless people. So of the city. So him and his like GF, his new waifu, spend their days discussing philosophy, having sex, and helping homeless people while enjoying their newfound wealth, which sounds like a pretty damn good existence to me. Um, so yeah, that's kind of a very rough summary of the fall of the American Empire. Overall, it's a surprisingly good movie. I enjoyed it a lot. I'd actually recommend watching this film if you can get your hands on it. It's on YouTube. It's like $6 Canadian, or maybe it's five now. I think it was on sale or something like that to rent it. If you can find it somewhere else, go ahead. I doubt you're going to be able to find it because it's an obscure French Canadian film, and even if you do, make sure you get a subbed version. Anyways, hope you enjoyed the review. God bless you all, and I'll talk to you guys real soon.